The trend in terms of production, which has gone down from 40,000 to around 10,000 in terms of export revenues from 60 million to 1.4 million dollars. One would be convinced beyond the reasonable doubt that the cotton sector is at the verge of collapsing, which is not good news to you and me. And at the same time, if you also look at the number of players that are so dependent on the cotton sector vibrancy, the farmers, cotton sector employs around 300,000 farmers, and then it provides direct employment to 20,000 Malawians employed in the ginning sector, spinning, as well as the crushing sector. So it's not good news. And I think as we are talking now, only 2 ginning companies are in operational. The others out of 11 have either closed up or they have just downscaled. You may want to know that for us to be where we are in terms of the number of ginners, it had to take some interventions, and I think you remember very well that the late president tried as much as possible to entice investors, and they came, they have done the investment, but now we are going back to the same number. We now have 2 active ginners on the market. It's true that the $10 million that the government injected some 4 years ago, 5 years ago, really evaporated. I can confirm that. What we are proposing, or what is being proposed by different stakeholders, is that government can this time around inject only $4.8 million. If the $4.8 million is injected and administered, we will get it or recouped in the period of just 2 to 3 years, with proper systems in place. The system that is being proposed now is slightly different from the one which administered the $10 million, in the sense that under the current arrangement, farmers are going to directly interface with the bank. They will be deducted by the bank. At the same time, the chemical suppliers or other input suppliers are going to be paid by the bank. The role of the government in the handling of funds is going to be significantly reduced. They will only be involved when it comes to preparing tender documents, whereby a lot of input suppliers are going to bid on a competitive basis, and it's going to be an open and transparent process, assuming we still want the government machinery to handle it. The other model being proposed is that of a fund manager, whereby a bank is going to be given the $4.8 million, and that money is going to be invested in something else by the bank, and it will act as a guarantee, so that the bank will use its own resources to lend out to farmers at a subsidized interest rate using the $4.8 million that the government has given it to manage. And the process will be the same. The ginners as well as the other players will interface directly with the bank. All payments will be made through the bank, and then we expect that farmers, through the models, the 2 models, are going to operate in more or less organized groups, which is also what we have noted as one of the reasons why previous attempts have failed.